Your vehicle needs $20,000 worth of proper repairs after an accident. An independent, highly rated certified body shop explains the damage. They explain the OEM repair procedures, the calibrations, the structural work, the parts requirements, the safety systems involved. Then, the insurance company estimate arrives. $7,000. Maybe 10, maybe less. Suddenly, you're staring at a gap of $10,000 or more between what the repair facility says your vehicle needs and what the insurer is willing to pay for. And that is the moment that many consumers stop making engineering or safety decisions and start making financial survival decisions. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Airing of Grievances. I'm Eric Reamer with Nylund's Collision Center in Inglewood, Colorado. Today, we're talking about something that more and more consumers are experiencing after accidents, and why record numbers of what the industry calls alternative parts are now being used in collision repair. But before we even talk about those parts, we need to talk about the moment that changes everything for many vehicle owners: the estimate. Most consumers believe something very simple. They believe that if they pay their insurance premiums and their vehicle is damaged, their insurance company will restore the vehicle properly. That's what most people think they purchased. And then reality hits. A certified collision center inspects the vehicle properly. The vehicle may require structural operations, advanced diagnostics, calibrations, safety inspections, specialized parts, and highly technical repair processes. And modern vehicles are expensive to repair properly. Very expensive. $20,000 repairs are no longer unusual, not on newer vehicles, not with today's technology, not with modern safety systems. Then the insurance estimate arrives, and suddenly the consumer is staring at a number that may be dramatically lower than the repair facility's estimate. Not hundreds of dollars lower, sometimes thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars lower. Now imagine that emotional moment. You've already been through an accident. You may already be missing work, dealing with a rental car, trying to coordinate transportation, managing family stress, paying a deductible, and attempting to get your life back in order. And then someone tells you, if you want the vehicle repaired exactly the way the manufacturer requires, you may end up owing thousands of dollars out of pocket. That's not a small moment emotionally. That's shock. And that shock changes consumer behavior immediately. Because at that single moment, most people stop asking, what is the best repair? And they start asking, what can I realistically afford? Now this is where the conversation about alternative parts begins. Because once consumers are financially overwhelmed, they become far more vulnerable to cost-based repair decisions. So let's define the terminology clearly. When the collision repair industry uses the phrase alternative parts, it's generally referring to anything other than brand new OEM parts from the original vehicle manufacturer. That may include aftermarket parts or recycled OEM parts, reconditioned parts, or salvage components. Now let's be fair and reasonable. This is not a claim that every non-OEM part automatically fails. That would be irresponsible. But consumers absolutely deserve to understand something critically important. OEM parts are engineered specifically for your exact vehicle. Not just visually, not just dimensionally, but within a complete engineered ecosystem. Your vehicle's crash structures, mounting locations, sensor systems, material compositions, corrosion protection, panel tolerances, and safety systems are all designed to work together. A modern vehicle is not a random collection of interchangeable pieces. It is an engineered safety system. And aftermarket manufacturers are not the original engineers of your vehicle. That matters because there is no universal testing standard proving that every aftermarket component performs identically to the OEM part that it replaces in every situation. And yet, many consumers are never fully informed about those distinctions when financial pressure enters the conversation, because alternative parts are, by definition, different from OEM parts. If they were identical in every measurable way, they would be OEM parts. Now let's talk about what happens next. A consumer sees this enormous financial gap between what the independent certified repair facility says the vehicle needs and what the insurer is willing to pay. Naturally, confusion sets in, then frustration, and then anger. And unfortunately, that anger is often directed at the repair facility instead of the process itself. From the consumer's perspective, someone must be wrong. Either the shop is overcharging or the insurer is underpaying. Then comes the solution. Consumers are often told, you can always take the vehicle to one of our preferred shops, and suddenly the financial conversation changes dramatically. Instead of owing thousands of dollars out of pocket, the consumer may hear, you'll probably only owe your deductible. Now, think carefully about what just happened psychologically. The consumer is exhausted, overwhelmed, scared financially, and now relief has been introduced into the conversation. Most people don't have an extra $10,000 sitting around after an accident. And this is where one of the most important questions in collision repair begins. If a vehicle supposedly requires $20,000 worth of proper repairs at one facility, how does it suddenly become repairable for dramatically less somewhere else? What changed? Were parts changed? Were procedures changed? Were assumptions changed? Were OEM requirements reduced? Were alternative parts introduced? Was the repair philosophy different? Those are all fair questions because consumers deserve transparency when financial pressure is influencing repair decisions. And if a repair plan changes dramatically simply because the vehicle changed locations, consumers deserve to understand exactly why. Now, some people watching this may still think, well, if the vehicle looks repaired, what's the problem? The problem is that cosmetic appearance and proper restoration are not always the same thing. Modern vehicles contain radar systems and cameras, lane keeping systems, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, parking sensors, and crash mitigation technology. Precision matters. Fitment matters. Material composition matters. Sensor positioning and corrosion protection and long-term vehicle value all matter. Because eventually, vehicles get traded or sold or leased, inspected, or repaired again later. And consumers may eventually discover that decisions made under financial pressure years earlier affect the vehicles in ways they never fully understood at the time. But perhaps the biggest question of all is this: what happens in the next accident? Because let's be honest, the entire purpose of modern vehicle engineering is crash management. Modern vehicles are carefully designed systems intended to absorb, redirect, and manage collision energy in very specific ways. That includes structural components, mounting systems, sensor positioning, material strengths, energy transfer paths, and dozens of interconnected safety systems, all working together during a crash. And OEM components are designed and tested within that exact ecosystem. Now again, this is not a claim that every non-OEM part automatically fails, but it is reasonable to ask an important question. When components within that engineered system are changed, how much uncertainty is acceptable? Because alternative parts are, by definition, different from OEM parts. If they were identical in every measurable way, they would be OEM parts. And when consumers are pushed into financial decisions after an accident, many may not fully realize that they're accepting unknowns that could potentially matter in a future collision. That's the part of this conversation that should concern everyone. Because vehicle safety is not theoretical when your family is inside the car. And at the end of the day, this conversation is bigger than aftermarket parts. It's really about financial pressure inside the collision repair system. Because when consumers are pushed into situations where proper repairs appear financially impossible and lower cost repair paths appear financially manageable, consumer decision-making changes rapidly. And once that happens, alternative parts usage naturally increases. Not necessarily because consumers truly prefer those repairs, but because many times they feel like they have no realistic financial alternative. That distinction matters enormously. Consumers deserve clear information, honest conversations, transparency about repair procedures, and the ability to make informed decisions about vehicles carrying their families down the highway every day. Because once a repair is completed, the consequences usually don't appear immediately. They appear later. Later during the resale. Later during inspections. Later when corrosion develops. Later when another accident happens. And by then, the consumer usually can't go backwards. And for those of you who stayed with us all the way to the end of this video, thank you. We genuinely appreciate you spending part of your day with us. These conversations matter because most consumers are never taught how collision repair actually works until they're forced into the middle of it after an accident. If you ever have any questions about OEM repair procedures, insurance estimates, collision repair, or vehicle safety systems, feel free to give us a call. Here's our number right here. Even if you simply need help understanding what you're being told after an accident, we're always here to help if we can. I want to say thanks again for watching this episode of the Airing of Grievances, and from all of us here at Nylund's Collision Center, we hope that you have a safe and happy Saturday.